Hey everyone, it's Joe Carrell. I'm honored to be with you today on the Plug-in Alliance channel to announce a new product. And this product, let's pan over here to the screen, the U2A from NEOLD. So you hear the name 2A and you think, wait a minute, I think I know what that's based on. And you would be right, a classic tube compressor that we all know. But your next question is probably, why would I get excited about this? I think I already have that in this bundle or that bundle. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. So we have a specific model when we use most pieces of software. What I love about this one is anybody that knows the history of these circuits, you know that it's went through various revisions over the years. And so there's the oldest ones, which were ultra slow. Because of that, they're very creamy and sought after because the light circuit has actually aged to the point where it doesn't pass high frequency as much. And so it's very buttery, creamy, smooth, and dare I say warm. And so it's sought after for that. Okay, so then you fast forward through the years, you have the gray and the silver, and some of them, you know, like the silver were very, very snappy versus the other one that was somewhere in the middle. But what we've got here, instead of having one flavor of that circuit, or even having to switch between, hey, here's one flavor. Oh, that's not right for this song. Close it. Let's open up. I need something snappier. I'm going to grab the silver one. It's all built right inside here with all of those features and much more. So let's look at the screen. You'll see here on the upper left, we have the R37, and that's the emphasis circuit that's built into it. In modern terminology, we use that, you know, a lot. We call it like a high pass side chain kind of thing, to where the compressor is not as sensitive to low frequency detail or low frequency things like kick drums and bass guitar. So those can, you know, not be, we're not getting the compressor to be pumping ugly or locking down on a low frequency item. And that's what we have right here. It just it accomplishes it in a different way. And because of that, it actually makes the compressor have many characteristics, how would you say it, personalities. You can leave the recovery knob, for example, in one spot and just change this and the peak reduction, and it handles things very differently and sounds like a different compressor. So it's very powerful beyond just thinking of it as, hey, I want my kick drum to pass through unaffected. All right, so limit and compress, just like the original, the compressor, you know, is around the 3-to-1, 4-to-1 range. It's, you know, somewhat soft. We get up here to limit, and it's what they called limiter back then, you know, like 10-to-1, for example. So it's, but depending on how hard you're hitting it, those numbers fluctuate. It's not, you know, like a modern digital tool where, hey, this is what it is. It's musical, and those numbers fluctuate, which is one of the great things about it. Okay, let's get up here to recovery. So set to its default state right here, this would be like my silver face in the back. So it's kind of snappy. But look, we can even get faster, or we can go this way and get more and more like a gray, more and more like the old original, or just ultra slow. And the attack and release are both affected. Okay, let's put that back where it belongs. And then the aging. Now, this is the cool thing. So we talked about all these variations of 2As and how they sound differently. And sometimes it's just based literally on the age of the light cell, the T4 circuit. And that's what this allows us to do. So we can get an ultra modern 2A type of sound, but we can also have it act and pass sound as if it was the old circuit, or vice versa. We can go to an old circuit and keep it ultra clean to where it's full fidelity on the backside. So just a lot of fun, a lot of different variations of the 2A here. So in the middle, we have what we expect when we look at a 2A, our makeup gain and our basically our threshold and the VU meter. Okay, moving to the right, we have drive. Now this is a tube unit, right? So as a result, there was some amount of harmonic distortion added to it, and that's part of the charm of the unit. But what they did is they modeled that specific harmonic distortion, not just any distortion, but that, you know, going through those tubes, and we can make it ultra clean, or by default where kind of where we would expect it to be if we were using one of the original pieces of hardware, or we can get dirty and dirty and dirtier and dirtiest. Okay, so that's what we can do here. And then on the mix knob, again, that's just something that I think needs to be part of modern plugins, is the ability to overdo it and then pull it back a little bit and introduce more of the real signal in. That's a great option that I have used as I've been playing with this thing the last couple days. So that's in a nutshell. But let's talk about why we're excited about it, and we're going to actually put it in action on a song here. And this is a friend of mine, Mackenzie Johnson, and a very talented songwriter, artist that I've worked with several times. And this song, the reason I thought I would pick it is because it's really featuring acoustic guitar and vocal. And that is two of the major, the strengths of the original unit. That's two of the things we think about most when we think about them. So let's just put it in action here. Let's listen to the song just a little bit and let you get a feel for it.
Light a candle in the darkness, dance around under the harvest moon. Did you know that you can make things happen with just a little bit of magic? Let them think that you are.
Okay, killer song. As you can see, driven by, as I said, acoustic guitar and vocal, and it's kind of otherworldly. A lot of times that's our job, right? Sometimes we're supposed to make things very natural, but a lot of times in modern pop productions, we have to take things and make it, bigger and better than it ever was on its own, and otherworldly. And the 2A was a big part of doing that for me in this song. So let me turn that big reverb off that you hear, that haunting reverb. And what we're going to do is we're going to listen to these acoustic guitars without any compression. But I will say that I do have a little bit of SSL EQ going on right here in the Brainworks. So let's listen just from right here. Okay, it's great, but you can hear and you can even see on the screen. Look at the difference sometimes in the energy on the left side to the right side. You can kind of hear the image shifting to the left, shifting to the right, which I want to do away with. I just want a nice stereo image. But you can also hear the amount of sustain and depth moving around, and you can really see it in the right side right here. So let's turn the 2A on and get a look at what I did here. I was dialing these in, and what I ended up with is the recovery set right around 12 o'clock here, the aging right around 12 o'clock, and this is what it sounds like after. Okay, a couple things are happening. Because of the type of attack, release rather, and recovery that a 2A has, initially, when it starts releasing, let's say we're getting 6 dB of compression, that first 3 dB come and releases pretty quick, and then it gets progressively slower. And that's part of the magic of the sound of this unit. So at this tempo, we have that rolling pattern, and as you can see, it's never fully releasing. So the sound of every transient is being affected. Again, that term, trying to make it bigger and better than anything ever was on its own, otherworldly. That is part of the magic of what I have going on here. But also, more than that, did you hear the tone? The tone, there's this droning note that's happening throughout basically this whole guitar pass. And I want the energy of that note to remain the same. When the compressor wasn't on, again, I'll remind you that the tone of that section right here, our energy changed in a unflattering way. Okay, so we're tightening up our tone, and we're making it something bigger and better than it was on its own. All right, so let's take a look at Mackenzie's vocal, and let's go down here. I know what I had done, but that doesn't matter. What we're going to do is we're going to factory default, and we're just going to start over. And I can see what I had in my original mix, which is common for me. I do something like a 2A, something very smooth, and I follow it up with something that's got a lot of character and snap if I want it as, like an 1176, in this case, the Purple 77. But let's get the smooth element going. Let's just mute. I'm going to mute the 77, listen to the verse, and turn the effects off on her vocal, and let's just listen to it.
Light a candle in the darkness, dance around under the harvest moon. Did you know that you can make things happen with just a little bit of magic?
All right, so let's start dialing in what we would want. So we've got the factory default setting on, and let's just dial it in.
Light a candle in the darkness, dance around under the harvest moon. Did you know that you can make things happen with just a little bit of magic?
I think I like the aging where it's at, because I want to pass full bandwidth. I don't really want to warm it up. I want her to sound very modern. Okay, so and I also like the compression setting where it's at. I don't think I want to get heavy-handed with limiting, but let's play with the recovery knob here. And as a result, you'll see that we have to continually move our peak to get it back to the same amount of compression.
Light a candle in the darkness, dance around under the harvest moon. Did you know that you can make things happen with just a little bit of magic?
That's very, very cool. I mean, it's very creamy, but it's just too slow, I think, for what I'm looking for in modern productions. So let's just play around with some other settings.
Light a candle in the darkness, dance around under the harvest moon. Did you know that you can make things happen with just a little bit of magic? Let them think that.
Very cool, but what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go somewhere in the middle. I don't want quite that fast. I want a slower release, especially in these verses, the pacing of these words. So let's dial that. And I'm going to take the drive all the way off. Let's just do ultra clean and modern here.
Light a candle in the darkness, dance around under the harvest moon. Did you know that you can make things happen with just a little bit of magic?
That's hot. Okay, so let's follow that with the 77, and I think you'll get an idea of sometimes one of my common vocal chains and how it works together.
Light a candle in the darkness, dance around under the harvest moon. Did you know that you can make things happen with just a little bit of magic? Let them think that you are unhinged. Let them take a stab and hunt a witch like you. It's unoriginal and old-fashioned.
Okay, right there, I want you to hear that. Witch like you.
Let them take a stab and hunt a witch like you. It's unoriginal.
Okay, that is totally the result of not one of the compressors, but both of them working together. But even though we're talking about very modern productions, very modern music, and I said I was going for very modern settings, we're getting that musicality of that type of release that we're talking about. Remember, we discussed earlier about how a T4 cell lets go, but it only lets go about halfway, and then it keeps on letting go just a little bit more. That's the magic. So we can get that magic in a very modern way in our very modern mixing by putting the aging knob all the way counterclockwise and the drive knob all the way counterclockwise, and we get a very, very clean performance, but we get the benefits of that vintage type of buttery musical release, okay? Okay, I want to roll up to the chorus here, and I'm going to give you an example of the aging and how we can use that to our benefit. And I'll tell you a little story real quick. An engineer that was much older than me and more experienced with me at the time when I was young showed me a trick that he would use. He had a 2A that the circuit was old, and what he would do is he would run a vocal through it and at very heavy compression. So the thing is, the light fixture in there was always bright. I mean, it was telling it to compress very heavily all the time. And so it really wasn't changing the envelope of the sound much. It was just passing it through. But because the circuit was old and it had this warming factor, it rolled off the top end of his vocal and the mid-range, became more pronounced. And that was part of his sound. And I always thought that was really cool. And we can do that here. And let me show you how. So I've got her vocal. Let's see, I have all the reverbs and delays killed so we can really hear her. And Mackenzie, thanks for allowing us to use your song. You are a brilliant artist, brilliant singer.
It isn't white or black, there's more than that. I'll fight to tell the truth, it isn't wicked.
Okay, fight to tell the truth. Okay, listen to that. She's going up in a head voice and getting very bright and very airy. And it's very cool, very, very hip.
I'll fight to tell the truth, it isn't wicked.
Okay, you can hear the compression doing what it does, but you don't hear the tone change.
I'll fight to tell the truth, it isn't.
Okay. Now here, let's listen to it with this setting instead, and you'll see I have the aging turned up, and you'll hear on Fight to Tell the Truth that the tone changes, and the high end, that high frequency air it's just not making it through the circuit.
There's more than that. I'll fight to tell the truth, it isn't.
You hear how the more the circuit is being engaged, the more mid-range focused we are, and it's not as airy. Okay, so that is how this circuit works, and that's how to use it to our advantage. We want to get something a little more vintage or warmer sounding, and when the compressor's really kicking in. And again, what he would do is he would just bury the needle.
I'll fight to tell the truth, it isn't wicked.
Did you hear the difference?
I'll fight to tell the truth, it isn't.
Versus?
I'll fight to tell the truth, it isn't.
And it's really, really apparent when you put it into the mix. It just becomes a more mid-forward thing. I always thought that was a fun trick that he had. But you had to have a unit that was capable of that. And now, thankfully, we have that at our fingertips. One other thing when we think about the two-way circuit is bass guitars, right? I mean, it's magical. Everyone knows it. And it's not just dynamic control. It's that, but it's also a tightening effect. So let's listen to the bass guitar without the two-way here. I muted all other low-end instruments so you could really hear that. And what you'll hear as he's going from the G, he goes up to the B and the A, back down to the G, the low end kind of moves around on us. And that's not what we want. We want the low end to stay here, right? So that's what we're going to try to accomplish. So let's solo up the bass guitar. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel and make it into something it's not. We're just trying to tighten it up. Let's let a little more of the I'm sorry, right here it is, the bottom end roam just a little bit more free with prior to the compression. That's probably all it's going to take. Now let's see if we're before and after volume. And I'm going to also slow down the attack, which will slow down the release too. Here we go. Okay, in my room with these big old speakers, when he does the BAG walk down, the bottom end, even though I can hear the note change, the overall impact of the bottom end is not changing. So that's some of the power of compression, even with just a couple dB on low end, just kind of tightening things up a little bit. Let's move to another song. Okay, I have another song here pulled up, and it's a modern pop tune, kind of with a funk edge, from Caleb Lovely, a friend of mine, and this is his song called Smile. Go stream it, you'll love it. All right, so the reason I pulled this up is sometimes we think of 2A, I don't know, I think some people get it in their head. We think of acoustic bass or upright bass or vocal, organic music, certain genres. But the thing is, with the new features that we have built into this, I don't think of this as a vintage tool. I think of this as a vintage flavored, very modern tool. So I'm intentionally showing, modern productions. One of the places that I think this is going to be really useful to me because of the new things, and that's a faster recovery time than we could ever get before, as well as using more of the tube grit that we could ever get before, drum room mics. So let's listen to these, probably what's going to be ultra boring drum room mics for this song. Okay, I can hear a little, sounds like I probably had an 1178 or 1176s while I was tracking it, but not much. So it needs a lot more compression. And it needs to be exciting. So what we're going to do is this is the power here. We're going to turn the recovery up to ultra fast. That's what room mics like, right? They want you to release and let go pretty soon, pretty quick. So we're going to turn the drive way up. We're going to leave the age. I kind of want the air, so I'm going to leave the aging where it is, but I'm going to turn the limit up, and we're going to leave the detection circuit flat because I want the kick drum to cause pumping, compression. Here we go. Let's dial it in. That's awesome. All right, before and after. Now that's exciting. And again, you hear, I like some air out of my room mics very often, and I can hear a little sizzle coming from the tube in the drive, but also the hi-hat. I'm going to roll the aging to where we hear the high end kind of being removed from the circuit. That's a very, very cool feature that we have that, right? But in this case, I want to make it ultra clean. You hear that? All of a sudden, the all that dirty grit. I said ultra clean, but you know what I mean. I want the full bandwidth of the unit to pass through. So that's just something we could never do on the real unit, and I see myself doing a lot. In fact, let's just save that as a preset right now. All right, let's go on to Caleb's vocal. So one of the reasons I chose this vocal is first of all, it's a male vocal versus a female, but it's very punchy. This is this song really has a kind of a funky edge to it, and so it's just an entirely different lope. So I wanted to hear the unit doing what the unit does on this kind of a thing. More importantly, I wanted you to hear it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start in the factory default position, and you can see that it's somewhat compressed, reasonably heavy before it ever came to me. But I still think it has room in a modern production to be compressed even more, believe it or not. So here we go.
I see you holding everybody's gaze, walking in on air like you own the place, bending over backwards just to...
Okay, now let's go for a modern, super ultra fast thing.
I see you holding everybody's gaze, walking in on air like you own the place, bending over backwards just to play the game. Bump into the...
Okay, I dig that. Now let's go up here where the band comes in.
Bump into the groove, but you're in the way. You're picking roses with thorns and then bleeding out. You fake a laugh, what the hell is that all about?
Okay, that's very cool, right? We have got that level locked down. But let's slow down the recovery to where more of the transient of the words are punching through and see if it's more compelling to us as a listener.
You're picking roses with thorns and then bleeding out. You fake a laugh, what the hell is that all about? I see your eyes as they manipulate the whole crowd. Hate to break it to you, but it ain't going down.
I don't hate that at all. So you see, it's very, a big range of sounds out of this one unit. Very clean, very dirty, somewhere in the middle, very fast, very slow, but we have that characteristic 2A release, which is where the magic is for me. Another thing here, the brilliant engineers over at NEOLD have given us, look at this, 85 different presets. So we can pull up different sounds here. As if you're new to mixing, that's very valuable. If you're even sometimes just new to a plugin that has new features, it's kind of fun to dig through some of what they did and see what they were thinking when they named this preset and how it works for us. So anyway, guys, if you're a Mega Bundle owner, this is free for you. No additional fee. Just go download it, install it, and start playing right away. If you're not a Mega Bundle owner, maybe you ought to consider it. I know I couldn't live without it. I use it every day. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching and happy mixing.